But you never know, we might be able to come back again. Well, so this passage, it's a long passage. This passage gets us to a point in the Gospel record where the disciples have been with Jesus for some time. They have heard him teaching, they have seen him ministry, and now it's their turn, right? So he sends them out. And it's a bit like apprenticeship training, if you see what I mean. That they have heard, they have seen, and now it's up to them to do, right? And so they are sent out. And what are they to do? They're to talk about the good news of the kingdom. Let's just step back from this. What does that mean? It's the good news of the kingdom. Well, we have to just step back from the Gospels and ask ourselves, well, what is that good news? The good news is that there is a God. That God brought all things into being. That God comes to us in Jesus Christ as a baby, rose and begins his teaching ministry. And through his life and death and resurrection, we're able to find mercy and grace and forgiveness and hope. We're able to find that transforming life which comes to us because of Jesus' death and because of the gift of the Spirit, that the Spirit of God that actually applies that to our life and enables us, equips us, and enables us to live for Him. Right? So this good news, this is a big good news, right? From the very beginning right to now. So it's a big task that they're asked to do. But that's a powerful message. Because as Jesus says, the people there, the situation is that the people are harassed and helpless. I'm not sure quite what it says in your Tagalog version, but in our English version, it says they're harassed and helpless, right? In other words, they don't know what to do. They don't know where they're going. And they are looking for guidance. You know, I guess if you were to go down to Central today, you might be. If you go around Hong Kong today, you'll find many people are harassed and helpless, who themselves are looking for meaning and hope. They're worried. They're worried about the work that they're doing here. They're worried about their families at home. They're worried about situations. There's that sense, actually, of people being unsure. We come from England, from the United Kingdom. And there's politically, in England, it's a mess, actually. We look at the United States, and, you know, what has happened there with Trump and so forth, it's a mess. You look at the Philippines. It's a mess. You know? If we look at China, Myanmar, Cambodia, various other places, we've got a totalitarian regimes who are oppressing people. So actually, there's a lot around in which it's a mess, and people feel harassed. So the situation that those disciples found themselves in, that Jesus is ministering to, is not that different from what we are finding today. People are looking for meaning, people are looking for hope, people are worried about their situation, people are concerned about others, their welfare, their own physical health, and so forth. Actually, to those who need you most. Now that's not quite what Jesus says here. He says, don't go to them, don't go to them, go to them. Well, what did that mean? That meant go to the people that need you most. And I think here in Hong Kong, there are many people who would just love to be able to come as you're doing this afternoon to worship in this way, to sing, to be able to find a place of sanctuary and hope and help. And so I challenge you, actually, to look out for others who could benefit by being part of this, not just this service, but this whole Filipino Christian community. They would find that support and help and encouragement that you will find. And so I challenge you, commission you if you like, to be looking out for others that can be invited to be part of all of it. That will give Reverend Israel more work to do. And you as well. And you as well. Because we're all involved in this. It's interesting, you see, that Jesus doesn't just go himself, though he does. He actually encourages his disciples to go and to minister. What do they do? Well, they share. Okay, they have good news to tell. There's a story to tell. A story about Jesus, a story about God's love, a story about the way that God can transform us. But although Jesus doesn't say this, when we look at his life, when we look at the way he deals with people, Jesus also listens. He listens to people. And he's asking questions of people because he wants to know their story. So we have a story to tell. It's good news of God's love for people. But we also need to listen to their story. Because if we just blurt out our story, we don't really know how to say it appropriately, helpfully for people. And so we need to listen to their story. And that's something that you all can do. You can listen to other people. You can listen in a caring way. You can listen in a loving way. You can listen in a way that will really help you. And then, of course, we have the story to tell. What else did Jesus ask them to do? Well, he asked them to pray. And sometimes we can pray for people there and then, at the bus stop, on the bus, wherever it is. But at other times, we can say, I will pray for you. I will remember this. And I will pray for you tonight or today. And we can bring that to bear for people. We are not just to share good news, but we've also got to be good news for people. There's a sense in which the good news is spoken and heard, but it is also lived and seen. And one of the most powerful ways in which the gospel can be told or shared is by the way we live, by the people we are. Jesus often talks about righteousness. And what does that mean? Well, it means that when we come to God, when we come penitent to God, God puts us in the right. so that we may be right within ourselves and know ourselves forgiven, know the assurance of God's love around our lives, but also that we may do right. God puts us in the right so that we may be right, knowing ourselves loved and forgiven by God and assured of that, but also that we may do right towards others. So that the story is not only told so that people can hear it, but it is also lived so that people can see. And that so righteousness is not a kind of airy-fairy concept, sort of theological concept or idea. It's lives that are lived in the knowledge of God's love and in the power of the Spirit. So Jesus says the kingdom of heaven has come near. Now it is interesting, you've probably noticed that in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven, and in the Mark and Luke and John a little bit talks about the kingdom of God. Well, are they different? No. It's just that Matthew is writing to mainly to Jews, and they wouldn't use the word God, so they have to find a way of getting around that. And so he writes about it as being the kingdom of heaven. It's the same thing as the kingdom of God. And that kingdom of God has come near. And therefore, there's a story to tell. There's someone to listen to. And that assurance of God's mercy. And Jesus sends out the 12. He doesn't make it easy for them, does he? He says it's going to be difficult. You're going to be like sheep before wolves, in the midst of wolves.